I'm going to start this desert lesson with a number of stories, unfortunately all about deaths, and while running a slightly disconnected video in the background. Okay, so coming from the Standard Examiner, here's a sad story. 6-year-old Corey was clad in a swimsuit and sandals, rambling up the side of a hill above the family's camp at Lake Powell. He was with a group of children who might have made the same hike the night before. He had decided to return to camp on his own, became disoriented, wandering off in the wrong direction. Water was visible to him and accessible to him the whole time, but he didn't go toward it, his mother said. After a 3-hour search that included park rangers from Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, a helicopter, and fellow campers, Corey's body was found stretched out on a rock within sight of the lake. It was meant to be a short walk to the top of the hill. It wasn't meant to be any long hiking situation. He had a good sense of reasoning, his mother said. He was a smart little kid who wouldn't have panicked. But children's bodies just aren't adept at handling the extreme environmental situations, experts say, and dehydration and heat exhaustion can be fatal. All right, another one. This is a set of 3. From the Phoenix Gazette. All right, what made 23-year-old Michelle Smith continue running until she died is a mystery, especially since the firefighter knew the risks of testing herself against the 100-degree heat. Why she went by all those houses with water and shade without ever asking for help, we just don't know. She was in superb physical condition, they said, trained in desert survival techniques, and had taken classes on how to recognize heat stroke. Smith's body was found 200 yards off the road on a rise behind a home where a retired couple were watering their garden Sunday morning. We heard the dogs barking, but we did not see her, they said. It was over 100 degrees out here Sunday morning, the sheriff said. She must have become disoriented. A man saw her running at about 11:30 Sunday. He talked to her, but she did not seem to be in trouble. A woman asked her how she was doing shortly after that. She asked her if she needed help. She said she was fine, that she was just playing hide and seek. All she had to do was ask for some help and some water, the sheriff said, shaking his head. There were lots of people around. Okay, here are 2 more. The body of Daniel Thorpe, 21, of Mesa, was found Sunday by a prospector near Elephant Butte. He had taken off during the night Saturday from a Queen Valley campsite he shared with a friend, carrying a gallon container of water while his friend slept. He probably died of dehydration and exposure, the sheriff said. And just a short note on this one, it was quite a tragedy. Okay, Grand Canyon Park authorities found a 15-year-old boy dead of dehydration Thursday after the party of 6 other people he had been hiking with near Nankoweap, a remote wilderness area on the north side of the rim, reported that he had become ill. That one, well, they're all awful. Okay, but this is a 15-year-old boy whose leaders had quit on him, and he had tried to run all the way down to the Colorado River to get water to bring back to his leaders, and he did not make it back. Here's an article on a flash flood. Title here, this is Salt Lake Tribune. Title here is Girl's Death May Bring Hiking Limits. The death of 16-year-old Tanya Humphreys in a remote southern Utah slot canyon Saturday demonstrates that even veteran hikers must prepare for the worst. The sky was blue and we felt safe, they said, but they did not know that storm clouds hours before had spilled rain onto nearby Slick Rock and that a wall of water was coming at them. The hikers suspected trouble when the ankle-deep water they had been walking in quickly rose to the knees. They stopped for about an hour at a big boulder they called Hugging Rock to determine what to do. Suddenly, though, the knee-deep water turned into a torrent, violently pushing everything in its path through the narrow walls of White Canyon. They realized they had to get to higher ground, and that meant jumping off a platform of rocks across a rush of water. 6 in the group made it. The remaining 7 scrambled up the narrows to a ledge above the water. Tanya was the last in line. She lost her footing, slipped, falling into a cove filled with frigid water. Although Tanya was not in danger of being swept away, her companions worried about her getting hypothermia. Gary tied 6 life jackets together with square knots. After 5 tries, he swung the makeshift rope to Tanya. She grabbed it and tried to pull herself up, but water pouring through another hole in the rocks pressed against her. The preservers tore apart. Tanya fell beyond the cove into the muddy maelstrom. TJ, Tanya's father, was so helpless standing there watching his daughter. Someone said, "But by not jumping in, he was saving my life. He was saving all of our lives." Later that night, TJ Humphreys decided those on the ledge had to move. It was simply too cold to stay there. He used his hands to hoist them one by one to a little plateau. Night fell, and they decided to get out of the wind, seeking shelter in 2 tiny caves. Talking about Humphreys, he was handling the situation. We were counting on him to be the guide and kept his composure the whole time. When the sun cracked the desert plain Sunday morning, the group moved on. They made it to a road and were picked up by a friend. Okay, we're going to continue on past these newspaper articles and hit 10 points here about traveling in hot weather. First one is you can acclimate to heat. It takes about 2 weeks of hot, sweaty workouts, and mainly what your body does is get more efficient at sweating. You lose less salt, although you do sweat more water. But yeah, we got to hang on to salt too. All right, second, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. It's possible to lose 3 liters of water per hour in heat and exercise. But we are going to talk later on about hyponatremia, which is where you're losing all your salt and overhydrating. So we need to get more detail in a little bit about that. Salt tablets, though, this is number 3, themselves are generally too much salt, and they irritate an awful lot of people's stomach. So we do want to be getting food with salty food in us instead. Fourth, avoid alcohol. It does impair the hypothalamus, which regulates temperature. It also dehydrates. To process alcohol uses a lot of water. So alcohol is very dehydrating. All right, 5, similarly, avoid diuretics. Caffeine is the main one that we know. What these are usually are stimulants that stimulate your bladder. So if you're taking medications, be sure to drink extra water, drink extra food. 6th, wear long, loose-fitting, light-colored cotton clothing to block the sun. Sunglasses, broad-brimmed hat, get wet for evaporation. This makes a huge difference. I used to do research down in Zion National Park, and the temperatures could hit 110. And in the morning, I would put on several pairs of cotton pants, and then 3 or 4 cotton shirts, long sleeve, big hat, jump in the Virgin River. And the river was pretty chilly. And then it would take me, an hour and a half to go do my research up on the slope, just baking in the sun. But with the dry atmosphere and the high temperatures, I was evaporating quickly, and to the point I had goosebumps most of the times, even though it's over 100 degrees. And then at the end, as I was starting to dry out, I'd still be chilly, and I'd go jump in the river again. And the river felt warm that time because my evaporative cooling was working better than the river itself at staying cool. All right, 7th, carry water in multiple water bottles so that in case you lose one, damage one, you don't lose it all. Use good quality water bottles. 8th one, make sure your information on water sources is up to date. If you're in a national park, you might be able to check with the backcountry rangers. They might hike the trails and look at the springs, or they'll be able to give you a general idea of whether the springs in other places they've been are running, or if the area you're hiking is pretty dry. I've also hiked a route before, shortcut into a place to see if the spring was running, and then gone back and done the bigger loop. Choose the time of day for when you travel. The hottest time, the temperature of the day just keeps getting hotter, so you do want to do your traveling. I've done a lot in the desert. Not a lot. I don't like going to the desert when it's hot. But in the early mornings with a headlamp, you do have to be careful. Rattlesnakes are likely to be out then. And then be finished traveling by noon and finding some dense shade, either behind a cliff, in an alcove, under a really heavy juniper tree. But yeah, you're looking for dense shade to just hang out. And it really doesn't cool off until after the sun goes down. So don't count on getting a lot of time in the evening for hiking. And then last here, 10th point, choose your season. I tend to go north and up in elevation in the summer to get cooler temperatures, and you can do the same, but there are people who do enjoy challenging the desert when it's 110. So do those other things I said. Spring and fall can be great. Our deserts here can be awfully cold and covered with snow and ice in the winter. So what's really great now is the UDOT web cameras. So you can look and see how much snow there is, which can be great because you can often get water by melting snow.